Welcome to Seeing with Your Soul, a safe and sacred place to be vulnerable, to be transparent, to be authentic. I am your host, Tisha Michelle. From the deep pain and loss of my best friend Gloria, I realized she gave me the greatest gift ever, remembering my purpose in life, which is to help connect you to your authentic self, guide you to remember your purpose, and remind you that your current circumstance doesn't define who you are. Join me as we heal, align, and glow together. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Seeing With You. I'm your host, Tisha Michelle. In this present moment, what I am grateful for. One, and I've been saying this almost like every day for like this past week, that I am, not only am I grateful, but I am honored to be a Black woman, a Black mother of 2 Black sons, 2 Black daughters, and just to be freaking Black in America. I am super grateful and honored to be a part of this change. I am also grateful for conversation that right before I started to record this podcast that I had with my 14-year-old daughter. It was good, and she was like, everything that's going on. She was angry and she was upset, and then she was sad. And now she said, she's like, okay, but how do I play my part? And she was like, she feels like this activism is being activated within her, but in a different stance, where she wants to express things through her art. I'm just so grateful just witness this unfold with her, to see her start to step into who she is and to start to speak and operate from a place of truth. And it's a beautiful thing. And I'm also grateful for what I'm actually going to share with you guys, experience that happened. I'm grateful for that experience because of the experience that I got to have, as well as with the outcome of that experience. I'm super grateful for. So, of course, always got to give a disclaimer. If you are driving, please do not do this. Everybody else, I want you to take a moment and go ahead and close your eyes. And I want you to take a deep breath. And I want you to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Now again. And out through your mouth. You're going to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. All right, guys, we just got centered, we just got grounded, and we just connected back to that heart center space. And now I want you to express what it is that you are grateful for. And you can say this out loud. You can say this in your head. Maybe you're sitting somewhere comfy and you're deciding to journal and you want to write that down. Whatever it is, it's your way to express it, but just go ahead and express what it is that you are grateful for in this moment. It is so important for us to express our gratitude, and especially in the moments where we feel like we're in a lot of darkness, right? We feel like we're in a dark space. That's even more of a reason for you to express what it is that you are grateful for. Because there's that shift. There's that shift of that energy, right? So we're upset about things that's going on in the world or things in our personal life. And we sometimes tend to block out all the things that are going very well. And we're not being dismissive at all to what's going on. We're just bringing in and being reminding ourselves of the things that we are grateful for, right? Maybe you're even grateful for that experience, that darkness that you're experiencing, right? Because once you are able to experience that and feel it and honor it, you're able to heal it. So that's something to definitely be grateful for, because if not, it holds this space in our energetic field where it blocks us from moving forward because we are still holding on to that when we're burying it. So it's just all that to say, it's super important to express our gratitude, right? It just is. So this episode, I wanted to share an experience that just happened. So a lot of times I talk about like how, what is it? Why did I that fast? I started to lose my train of thought. But I talk about how we are so protected and we're so guided and everything happens for a reason. And sometimes we don't know what that reason is. Sometimes, things that are going on is just stupid and this is awful and like, why is this happening? Like, well, what the heck? And we're just like, this doesn't make any sense at all. But in actuality, it makes so much sense. We just don't know, and it hasn't presented itself. And sometimes it does present itself, and then other times it doesn't. But either way, everything means something. Everything means something. So if you have been listening to my podcast for a while now, if you go back in February, you would remember there was an episode that I did. And oh man, to be honest, I don't even remember exactly what I titled it, but it was something like accidents are the universe's way of getting our attention. Don't quote me on that. I've had recorded so many that I don't even really remember exactly what I said. But anyway, it was back in February and I had a fall, and I explained about the fall, and I thought it was super odd and what was spirit trying to let me know. That was in February. So we fast forward we are in June now. So this is in May, and it was towards the end of May, and my left shoulder had been bothering me for a very, very long time. And if I put my arm up, it hurts. If I stick my hand out the window going through a drive-through, it hurts. If I go to try to put my bra on, it hurts. And it was just hurting really bad. If I'm sleeping, it gets really numb. It felt like there was something like it felt like it wanted to crack. Like there was something there wanted to crack, but at the same time it was rubbing against something. And it was very painful. I don't really do the whole doctor thing. I've always actually been like that, but I don't really do the doctor unless I absolutely have to, because I'm more of like, I can heal myself, right? Okay, so am I having pain somewhere? Okay, so what is going on? What is it internally that I need to express, I need to release, that I need to do? Do I need to detox? Do I need to drink more water? Do I need to get more sleep? So I'm more of going into the natural thing before I go to the doctor, because most of the time they just want to pump you up with some medicine, and I refuse the medicine anyway. So I just wasted my time and their time, right? And just want to put this out there. I am not against Western medicine. I do believe if I have something broken or I'm bleeding and I need to be stitched up, absolutely. But when it comes to the chronic things, I'm like, that's a deeper issue, and that's something that I need to do to fix. And that's a combination of herbs and water and food and inner healing. So I get to this point, I said, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. I need to go to the doctor. So I went to the ER to get checked, just because with COVID and the way everything is, it's kind of hard getting stuff. So I go to the ER and they check out my shoulder, and they take an x-ray and they see a non-displaced fracture. So they said, what happened? Did you fall? And I'm like, no. And I was like, oh my gosh. I said, actually, I had a fall in February. And I told them what happened and how I felt, and that I've been in pain for a couple months now. And I just, I always carry my bag is pretty big and it's always heavy. I have everything in my bag and I carry it on that shoulder. So I'm sure I aggravated it a lot. So he said that he wanted me to now follow up with an orthopedic. So they put me in a sling that I have yet to wear. I lasted about an hour and I was like, oh my God, I'm restricted. So they said, we need you to go see an orthopedic. Now, mind you guys, I'm in Arizona. So I had already decided that I was going to go to Virginia, because I hadn't been able to go like I always go every month because of COVID. So all that was restricted. But they restricted in Arizona. They took all of that off and we were open. And Virginia went into like phase 1. So this makes sense now. I can go ahead and head to Virginia. So I get the ticket, and, I picked the state, whatever, and we're going to Virginia. So once they gave me the thing to see an orthopedic, I was leaving to go to Virginia in 2 days from them. So I said, well, it doesn't make any sense to find an orthopedic here and go to get an appointment. I'm not going to be able to get one, have an appointment before I leave in I think it was like 2 or 3 days. So I said, oh, bet I'll just make an appointment in Virginia with my orthopedic, because I've had an orthopedic that I've gone to a couple of years back. So I make the appointment and they tell me the time. So the appointment was for Tuesday. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. So the appointment was for a Tuesday. Yeah, it was on a Tuesday. And we left to go to Virginia, I think that Thursday. So I was like, okay, so I'm going to be here for a little bit. Let me just knock some things out. So at this point, I said, okay, I'm going to go back to Arizona on Wednesday. And we got to Virginia on Wednesday, and my appointment was Tuesday. So I had all these other things to take care of. So I get to the appointment, and I had looked on my calendar, and I seen, okay, this appointment, because I had a bunch of appointments scheduled. So I go to my appointment on Tuesday, and, well, let me rewind. I set up in my mind, and everybody, I told them I was leaving on Wednesday to go back to Arizona, but I never bought my ticket. And I don't know why I didn't buy my ticket. I was so hesitant to buy it. I don't know why, because I needed to go, and I'm not staying in Virginia long. Like, nope. I need to go home. But there was something in me that just didn't buy my ticket. So I was supposed to go on Wednesday. Didn't buy the ticket. So I go to my appointment on Tuesday. And when I go to my appointment and I get there all mad confident, it's 1:50 is my appointment. They said, no, your appointment was actually at 10:50. What? No, it's at 1:50, and I looked at my calendar, and I'm like, holy shit. So I jacked up my appointment and got it confused with West Coast time. So I was a little odd. I said, but how did I think it was 1:50, even though on my phone it was saying 10:50, but that was if I was in Arizona. I'm like, but how did I mix that up? Because regardless, at the end of the day, I called and made the appointment, and they gave me a time over the phone, and it definitely wasn't in West Coast time. So I just thought that was strange. So they said, well, we can't see you because he's really busy. They said our next available one we can get you in is on Thursday. Mind you, in my mind, I said I'm going back on Wednesday. Even though it was Tuesday, I still hadn't bought my ticket yet. But I can still buy it and leave the next day, right? So I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll just leave on Friday then. Give me the appointment for Thursday. Because at the end of the day, I still need to get my arm looked at, right? So that was Tuesday. So later on that day, I said, screw it. Let me just buy my ticket now and get it over with. So I purchased my ticket for Friday because my rescheduled appointment is on Thursday. So I get my ticket on Wednesday. I get an email from American Airlines, and it was like, hey, your flight is pretty full. At no choice, you can switch to go to and take another flight that's not as full. Okay, that's cool. Let me look at the times that they have. So I look at the times to see what they have. And they had a bunch of other flights that were leaving. But at this point, they were like 13-hour flights between two flights because of the layover. I'm like, why would I switch from my 6-hour and like 40-minute flight to a 13? That was on Wednesday when they first sent the email. So there was nothing for me to get. Let's just leave it with the, leaving at 7:23 a.m. on Friday. Here we go to Thursday. On Thursday, something just says, go look at the site and see if there's a better flight so you don't have to leave so early in the morning. I just checked it on Wednesday and there wasn't anything, but whatever. I listen to when these things pop in my head. So I go and check. Lo and behold, there's a flight on Friday that leaves, instead of the one I'm at 7:23, it leaves at like 3:34 p.m. I said, oh my God. So it was the same amount of time. So I said, oh, hell yeah, I'm going to switch to that one. It's not going to be as full. And I don't like leaving to go catch a flight early in the morning like that. It's just something about it that just don't sit right with me from the standpoint of I got to get up early. And even though I get up early, I'm overly paranoid that I'm going to miss my flight. So I don't sleep at all. So then when it's time to actually leave the house in the morning, I'm irritated. So why put yourself through that? So I said, oh, bet I can go to the one at 3. Okay, that was cool because it wasn't there the day before. Fixed, get the ticket. So here we are, Thursday. It's just Thursday, right? The same day I switched the ticket for Friday. Everything's good. Go to my appointment. They checked my arm out. He's like, you need to get an MRI now. He was like, when are you going back? And I was like, tomorrow. He was like, okay. So anyhow, for those of you who are actually maybe concerned and want to follow the journey of my shoulder, I have my MRI scheduled here in Arizona, and then they're going to send the disc to them. So I'll keep you posted on what that's all about. So here's Thursday. I go to the appointment, and then whatever else I did is talk with Tisha Thursdays. I do my talk on Zoom. I did it on Zoom. So I want to say we were on there. It was at 7:30, 8:30. So we probably got off at like maybe 10, right? Maybe about 10 o'clock. And I'd go pick my daughter up and I go to the house, to my mom's house, and I get in the shower, put on my little raggedy ass pajamas that I got with me. Like, seriously, guys, like holding like the pants and just straight thugging it, right? Whatever that means. Anyway, I say to my daughter, I say, I'm just going to pack in the morning because we're cool. You know, we're not leaving until 3, so we're good. I had it all. We're going to pack in the morning. So I go into bed and I'm reading my book and I fall asleep. Dead ass fall asleep, which makes all the sense in the world because I had a very eventful week in Virginia. Very eventful. I might even do a podcast on that shit. Anyhow, so I fall asleep. And then I fall asleep. Something just wakes me up. And I wake up, I sit up, and I go to the end of the bed, and then I just start packing my clothes. So then my daughter comes in the room, and I was like, girl, I was slumped. I was just sleeping. I'm like, why am I even up right now packing my clothes? I said I wasn't going to do this shit until the morning. So she starts packing her clothes. So now we're sitting on the floor in my mother's room packing our clothes, folding it up. My mom comes into her room and she's talking to us, and then we hear somebody ring the doorbell. So they ring the doorbell, and my mother never heard the doorbell ring, but me and my daughter did. I'm like, who was ringing the doorbell this late? I'm thinking it's probably like my cousin. She's like, I ain't hear nothing. I'm like, they ring the doorbell. So she goes up to the front. We continue to pack up the clothes. So we hear call 911, like a yelling. So I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm thinking whoever knocked on the door was probably like the neighbor, and maybe they're fighting with someone. So I tell my daughter to stay in the back, and I go up to the front, and my uncle lives with my mom. And my uncle he's in his early 60s, and he has like a disability. He's a diabetic, so he lost his toes, right? So he doesn't have any toes on there. So he uses the wheelchair and uses his cane, right? I needed to give you that for a reason. So I get to the door, and my uncle has this big ass, like, it's like one of those like fucking police stick shits, right? By the front door. Makes sense, protection. So I grab it because I don't know what I'm gonna see when I open the door. And when I open the door, I smell like smoke, like something was like on fire or something. So the next door neighbor's daughter was in the hall, and I was like, what? I'm confused because my mother. So then I see my mom. She's on the phone with 911. I'm like, what the fuck is going on, right? So the little girl was like, it's my apartment, and she's like, it's like the oven is on fire, and I'm like, what? So my mom's talking to 911, and she's like, where's the fire? Do we have a fire? I'm like, do we have a fire extinguisher? When you're in the midst of, I don't want to say chaos, but if you're like everything that's just going on, sometimes you don't see what's right in front of your face, right? Think about when you're in a hurry and you're trying to find your keys and you're looking all over for the damn keys and you don't see it. But when you kind of like take a quick break, it's right there in your face. You're like, damn, I looked there, right? So it was one of those moments where you're trying to, does anybody have a fire extinguisher? When in actuality, there's a fire extinguisher right in front of us in the hall. My mom lives in an apartment building and she's on the 3rd floor. But on every floor and every end, there's a fire extinguisher in there. So she gets the fire extinguisher. And I don't know what's going on because she's in there. I don't see no smoke or anything. I just smell it. So it's no big deal. So I don't know what she was doing inside there. And then she's like, she comes out and she's like, I can't get it. She said, she's telling the 911, I can't get the fire out. So I was like, oh, okay. So we should probably go outside. So I tell my daughter, I said, I don't know if something's going on with next door being on fire. So just go outside. Just go get outside. So she leaves to go get outside. And I said, I got to get Pat, which is my uncle. So I go in the back room and I grab my purse. I'm like, because in my mind, I'm like, I need to take my purse because my money is in there and I don't know how long we're going to be out here and I'm in these crazy ass pajamas and we can just go sit in the car and let them do their thing. That was my thought process. Let me grab my bag. So I go to my uncle's room and I'm like, Pat, next door is on, like, they got a fire going on. We got to get outside. He's on his tablet. He's like, it's always something, right? I'm like, let's go. So he's like, I got to get my shoes on. And I'm like, fuck your shoes, literally. I'm like, fuck your shoes. Like, we got to go. Let's go. It's a fire. We figure that out later. And he's like, I can't. So I was like, grab your cane. And at that moment, I couldn't even think of the word cane. I was like, you know what I'm saying. He didn't know what I was saying because I didn't know what I was saying. So I was like, get the cane, get the cane. So I was like, come on. So he's like, I need to get my shoes. I know that he moves very slowly and I don't know what it looks like next door. I just know my mom said she can't get it out and 911 is like, y'all got to get out. So the hell with your shoes, right? I was like, come on. So I'm holding on to him and I get to the front door and I open the front door and the situation changed from when I was just there. I can't see nothing. It is filled with so much smoke. My eyes are burning. I'm coughing. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, the shit was just like, yo, how did this happen so fast? It didn't take that long for me to get my bag and for me to get him from the back of the room to the front, right? And I'm like, what the hell? And I'm like, okay, we got to get out into the hall. So she's on the 3rd floor. So there's only 2 apartments because it's a long ass hall full of apartments, but she's like kind of like the side. So it's just my mother's apartment and then the neighbor next door. I can't see anything. I don't see the floor. I don't see the door. I don't see the walls. I'm grabbing stepping out with my uncle. I don't even see him. That's how much, smoke it is. So real quick in my mind, I was like, I'm going to die. And then really quick, the ego was like, no, you're not. You got a lot of shit to do. Right? So I kind of felt a little sense of calmness because I was like, I'll tell you about that later. But anyway, so I go to pull my uncle's arm, but I can't. He's still in the doorway. He's still in the door of my mother's apartment, but I'm already stepped out. So I'm full blown in the smoke, right? And eyes are burning. I'm coughing. I'm like, come on, pass. I'm pulling him. And he's like, no. Wait, what? What you mean no? He's like, no, I can't get down the steps. I'm gonna fall down the steps. I was like, Pat, bring your ass on, right? I can hear voices, but I can't see anybody. I can't even see where the door is to get out. But the only reason why I know it's not that far because my mom's been living there. So I know to get to the door. And in my mind, I'm like, we just need to get into the hallway because it won't be as much smoke and then we could figure everything out from there. So I'm pulling on him and he's resisting and he's like, no, I can't do it. So really quick in my mind, I said, if I ask him again to come and pull him and he doesn't, I'm going to have to leave him in here. Because I'm not trying to die. I got 4 kids and I got a lot of shit that I haven't even begun to touch. So this is all going on. And then all of a sudden, my mom had been in the apartment that whole time. But again, I could hear the voices and shit, but I couldn't see anything. So she comes out and she's coughing and she's grabbing. I was like, Pat won't come. And so she's like, let him go. Cause she was trying to grab his arm. So I was like, all right. So she grabs him to try to get him out. So I leave and it's not that far to get to that door, to get to the stairs to go down. Remember, we're on the 3rd floor. So I open that door and I get out there and we're holding like the door open for him to come. So I'm still in there, but I'm holding the door open because she's trying to get him into the hallway. And still, even in my mind, I'm like, I still can't stay long, right? Like, I don't, you know what I mean? It's like, you don't want to leave them, but at the same time, it's like, you're not coming, you know? So my mom finally gets him to get into the hall, but it's already full with all the smoke and stuff. So it gets him into the hall and then he sits down on the step to start sliding because he's scared he's going to fall. Remember, he doesn't have his toes, right? He has his feet, but he doesn't have the toes. So he's scared to go down. So my mom's choking and all this stuff. So then it pops in my mind again, like, yo, my mom might die in this shit. People don't die from the fires, guys. They die from inhaling the smoke, right? And we've been in here way too fucking long. This ain't like a 1 or 2 minute type shit. So he's sliding down. So he's coming down the steps, right? And so my mom was in it dealing like a lot. So because I had already came out before them, I didn't get air from like outside, but I wasn't in that mix anymore. I told my mother to leave and get out while I finished getting my uncle out because I had got like a second wind, right? You know what I mean? I guess you can follow what I'm saying. So my uncle, and he's still with this whole fear of him falling. I'm like, I got you. You're good. Let's go. So as soon as we get into the front of the building, he stops and he said, oh, I got to sit down. I said, no. I said, in my mind, I know that they're like gas and like electric mixed or whatever. But I'm like, is this going to blow? We don't need to be in front of the building. Plus, I know the fire people are coming, so we got to get out the way. So I'm getting him, and we finally get up to my car. So I'm like, well, it wasn't my car, but I had the rental. And I'm looking for the keys so we can get in the car. There are no keys in my bag. I'm like, fuck, are you serious? So the keys must have fell out into the apartment. So I grabbed my bag with my wallet and shit, but I had no keys. So now we all standing outside, everybody out there, right? My mother had then started yelling like, fire, fire, like, so everybody in the building like coming out. So we're sitting there in this, and I'm like, my phone is at 9%. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? My mom's like, you got smoke all over your face, and she's seeing like the black shit on my face, and it's on my hand because of so much of the soot. So I'm gonna rewind a little bit. When I got downstairs, after I finally got out there and I got down to the steps, it dawned on me. I was like, oh, my mask. Now, mind you guys, I had been talking shit in Virginia the whole time I was there about a mask, because now Virginia decides to open their asses up a little bit, but it's mandatory that you got to wear a mask everywhere you go. And I was already like, this is stupid, because remember, I'm coming from Arizona, and we never had it that it was mandatory for a mask, right? Now they have it, so everywhere we go, every store we go into, you got to have a mask on. So I'm not even going front for all you saying like, you can wear your mask for a little bit and da 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 da. This is my own personal shit. I don't fucking like wearing the mask because it makes me feel like I can't breathe, right? And I don't like it. So in that moment when I was in there, I said, holy shit, my mask. So I'm digging in my bag. I can't see, but I'm just feeling around, and I put the mask on. And I feel like that mask helped me for about another minute, maybe a minute, maybe 90 seconds, that I would have been inhaling even more than what that mask. So shout out to the stupid ass mask, right? So anyhow, so now we're outside, and the firefighters, the firemen, everybody's there. They running in there and shit, and they taking care of that. And we just standing outside, and I'm like, what the fuck just happened? But then in that moment, I realized why I missed my appointment. I said, oh, when I said out there, I said, now it makes sense why I missed my appointment. Because I needed to be here to help my mother get my uncle out of the building. So we'll back up really quick. Remember, I make an appointment. I make the appointment, and they tell it to me in East Coast. I put it in my phone. I go to my appointment all really proud, and I'm 3 hours late. How do you jack it up, right, with the time difference and stuff? So I thought it was eerie, right? So I have to now, so now the appointment is scheduled to Wednesday. And remember, I was holding on to it since I got there on Wednesday before. I never bought my ticket to go back because there was something was just like, don't get the ticket. I didn't know why. I just didn't know why, and I didn't get the ticket. So I finally get the ticket, and then they tell me, hey, your flight's getting full. You can switch it for free. And on that day, there was no flight that I could switch to because they were all longer. So then Thursday, something just tells me to go back and check. And when I go and check, here's this new flight. Cool. I get that one, right? So we didn't get back into my mom's house until around 4 a.m. My original flight for Friday was leaving at 7 a.m., which meant that my alarm was already set to get up at 4 a.m. to get ready, get everything in the car, go get the gas that I need to get because I need to drop this rental car off for her. So, and I'm just going to drive it to the airport and drop it off and then go. But I changed it to the 3 o'clock, right? Didn't know why, but I just did. Makes all the sense in the world because of what happened, right? So, also we'll go backwards. Remember, I fell asleep. Something wakes me up. I hate saying something. Spirit wakes me up. Like, get your ass up. Wakes me up and I start packing. I needed to be there to help get my uncle out because Spirit already knew this was happening. This was coming. So 2 things. 1, we weren't there. My mom would have been in the back and she wouldn't have heard. Well, the neighbor didn't call 911. The little girl, the daughter, knocked on my mom's door. My mother wouldn't have heard it. So they would have just been in there like, whatever. Or 2, she would have heard the door. Maybe she was in the front. She didn't have a reason to come in the back since we weren't there. And because she was trying to get the fire out over there and it wasn't going out, she had used finally used the fire extinguisher and put it out and it went out. Then it started back up. So she was so busy over there that she wouldn't have gotten my uncle, right? Because my uncle was already in the back. Or maybe the 3rd thing, once she would have went over there and seen what was happening, she said, hey, I can't help you. I got to get my brother. And then it could have been really bad for them because remember, she hadn't called 911, right? So there's a lot of different scenarios that could have happened. That's just not like, oh, I don't know if that would happen. No, one of those three shits would have happened, right? But I was there and I was delayed to be there for that. And when I'm outside, I'm saying, now it makes all the sense. So I was never going to die. I was never going to die. I was guided and protected, and I was led to do that or whatever, right? To be able to help my uncle. So we're standing downstairs and the firefighters up there and everything. And they put it all out and they come down and they're probably standing there maybe about 10 minutes, maybe 10, 15 minutes. And then all of a sudden we look up, the shit's on fucking fire again. They're running back into the building. Craziest shit ever. I'm not talking about like blazing. You can see it, no cap. So I'm like, what the hell is God is so crazy? So now we're out there and everybody is out there. There's probably like 6 fire trucks and ambulance. And at this point, my uncle's not really feeling well. So we get them to check him out and cop cars and everybody's there. So it's like, what the hell? So finally they say we could go in. So we go into the building. Of course, it smells like nothing but smoke. And you can see all the soot everywhere. And they had kicked in everyone's door. Everyone in the building's door was kicked in because that's what they have to do. They got to make sure that everybody is out. Makes sense. Everybody's door. So it's like a fucking disaster in there. And the smell is like crazy. So we get in, I go into my mom's apartment because she's now taking my uncle up the stairs. So I was like, well, let me run up. So when you get up to the top, I'll have his wheelchair there so he won't have to walk the long hall. So I go into there to get the thing and I can see into the neighbors and shit is fucked up. Like everything is done because the fire came up from the kitchen all the way up. So all her shit is it's a wrap, right? So I go in there to get there. And as I'm passing, there's one of the firemen and I'm like, it's good for us to be in here to stay. And he was like, let me check your air quality. So he goes in there and he was like, the air quality is fine. He said, leave all the windows open. He said, if it was my family, I would tell you guys to just go stay the night one night in a hotel and then come back. And he's like, Red Cross can cover it. But my mom decided not to, especially with her door being kicked in because she has 2 doors into hers and they didn't realize that both of the doors was to her apartment. And even though one was actually open, so they didn't have to kick it, they kicked the other one in. She was like, nah, I'm not leaving my place. So I was like, fuck it, I'm only going to be in here for a couple of hours anyway before we leave, and it wouldn't have been that long. So, we stay. So I'm talking to 2 of the firemen and he was like, you guys are really lucky that there's no damage in here other than just the smoke and seeing the soot at the top. He said, you're really lucky that it didn't come over here and we didn't have to do anything with your wall. And I was like, we're not lucky, we're blessed, right? Because I knew we were protected, right? Well, we didn't get lucky. And then I had to tell them, I was like, you know what? I have so much more respect for you guys because as I'm running out the building, you're running in. So I was like, salute to you guys. And I did. I found this newfound respect for them because I'm running out of a building that you're running into. It's like, wow. So when I'm sitting here and looking to try and process, and I don't really feel like I really processed everything that happened because when I was on the flight that Friday, which was right after it happened, and I fell asleep, I kept seeing fires. And I was like, let me find out I'm about to have some damn PTSD. And this is not me being funny. This is me being serious. And, just trying to process it. There was so many different things. Like one of the things that I definitely learned that Spirit's always showing me how protected and guided I am. And that there's a reason for everything, right? So even though I felt that it was eerie that I missed my appointment, I was like, what is the purpose of it? What is the point? I knew that there was a point, and boom, it was revealed to me, right? But then my uncle, right? I thought about it. My uncle was so afraid that he would fall down the steps that he was willing to die in that fire. I'm going to say that again. He was so afraid that he would fall down the steps that he was willing to die. How many of you are so afraid or have a fear of something that you're actually dying? Not physically, but dying inside because you're so fearful to take a risk. You're so fearful to move forward. You're so fearful to get out of that toxic relationship. You're so fearful to speak up. You're so fearful of success that you are actually willing to die inside. And when I say die, not physical, but just operate from a place of existing. That is how much power we give to fear. So let me break this down. You may have heard me say this before. We were all, every last one of us, were born with two fears. One, the fear of loud noise and the fear of falling, because both of them are dangerous. Loud noise can startle you. It will cause you a heart attack, or somebody, if you're driving, you're just chilling, and all of a sudden there's this loud ass noise and you jump, you may swerve and cause an accident. And then the second is the fear of falling, because if you fall, you're going to hurt yourself. So my uncle's fear was of a natural fear that he has. So he was naturally afraid of falling, that he was willing to die. So you guys don't have that fear of physically falling. So the fear that you are holding on to is not real. So you picked it up along the way. And guess what? You get to drop that shit off. You hear me? You get to drop it off. So in actuality, with my uncle, his adrenaline was going, and he really would have really processed that to get out that goddamn building. He probably could have ran out past me. But with that fear, that was a natural fear of falling, right? But he was so set on that, and nothing else was going to tell him that he wasn't going to fall down there, that he was willing to die. He said no when I said, let's go. He said no. And he pulled himself away from me because he was so afraid to fall. And he did not trust that he could get down them steps, or he didn't trust that I could get him down the steps. I was going to get his ass down the steps. If me and him went tumbling down there, we was going to get down them steps, right? But I just started thinking about it. I said, you are so afraid and have this fear that you're willing to die. And I am here to say, we are not fucking dying, right? Now, this is a physical thing. We don't know when that time comes, right? So because we do not know when that is going to happen, we need to live. Every fucking day we need to live, right? So when I was sitting outside watching the firemen run into there, because we could see it now from the outside, you could see the fire through the window running into there. It also hit me that I did another podcast episode. I don't remember when, but the question was, if you had 24 hours left to live, what would you do? Right? And we don't know when it's our last 24 hours. That could have been my last 24 hours, right? So we owe it to ourselves to fucking live, guys. Live. Live as if every day is our last day. I used to hear that and I was like, oh, that's so cliche. That's so stupid. That doesn't make any sense, whatever. But it makes all the sense in the world, right? Because I had just been on a call with some of you guys that are listening now. You guys was on my Talk with Tisha Zoom, and none of y'all would have expected that I was about to be with the neighbors with the fire and trying to get my uncle out from the third floor and inhaling all that smoke. We didn't think about that. We were just like, oh, okay. See you guys on Sunday, in our inner child course, the ones who were in there. And I was like, and just in that moment, just like that, your whole life can change. So my mom's neighbor, they lost everything in there. They lost everything. And in just that moment, yes, it wasn't their life. So it was materialistic stuff, right? But it was still big, and you're displacing where she's going to live, and they're still dealing with it right now, So we owe it to ourselves to live every single day as if it is our last. And to not allow fear to hold us back. So if your fear is not from the loud noise and your fear is not from you physically falling, stop that shit right now. Stop it right now. Because the shit's not real. It is not real. There's a story attached to this fear. And you need to acknowledge it. And you need to get rid of that shit. Get rid of that shit. And the easiest way to do that is to just do whatever the fuck you want to do. Whatever it is, just do it. Just jump. Just take that risk. Take that leap, right? Because it's what we came here for. We didn't come here to be prisoners in our own selves, right? We didn't come here to be trapped in fear physically, like trapped in fear, like we can't move, we can't speak, we can't leave this relationship, we can't start this business, we can't quit this job, we can't speak up to someone who is treating us or looking down upon us or whatever the case is, because we're so afraid of what might happen. So no, guys, we owe it to ourselves to live. And if we have children, if you have children, you also owe it to them, because you are their teacher. You are their teacher. They are learning things from you, right? So, like I said, I haven't fully processed everything, but I've never been in an experience like that before. That was some scary shit. I couldn't see anything, right? So, as I'm trying to unpack this and process it, I looked at it from the standpoint of I couldn't physically see anything, but I know that I can see beyond my physical eyes. I can see through my third eye, which is my mind's eye, right? And if I just take that deep breath and just be calm, that's fine. I don't need to physically see. I just need to trust that I would be guided to get out of there and down those steps without physically seeing. Because guess what? All of these events led up to me getting my uncle out. I just needed to trust, right? I just needed to trust. But that happens in our everyday life. We feel like because we can't see and we don't know what's going to happen next, and we're going to die. That's what I said. I was like, I'm going to die. When I started choking, like literally dead ass choking and eyes burning, and I've experienced the eyes burning before with the smoke because I've been in the military, so I went through boot camp and I went through the gas chamber, that training, and my mask was fucked up. So when I was sitting in there and I was holding it on there, my eyes was just, it was crazy, and it was because it was messed up. So I literally had to run out. And they had to give me a new mask to go back through it because you have to be in there. I can't remember what it was. You have to be in there for a certain amount of time. And then the second time was a part of the training when we were out in the woods and we got gassed because you have a certain amount of seconds to get your mask on before you're finished, right? So gave me eerie chills about that training. But because I was out there and my eyes were burning and I couldn't see and I was choking, I thought I was going to die. And it was because I couldn't see my way out physically. And that's, again, what we do in our life now, because we can't see, which ends up becoming the fear of the unknown, that we're willing to die. And yes, just existing and just getting up every single day and doing the same thing over and over and over, that's dying, because we're not living. We're not living. We're just existing. So as I continue to unpack everything of this experience that I had, because that's what it was an experience, I want you guys to really evaluate your life. And you think about, if you haven't listened to that podcast, if you had 24 hours left to live and that's what you knew, what would you do? How would you live your life? And start living your life from that place. 2, just know that you can see beyond your physical eyes, right? And this is where our trust and our surrender comes in at, right? So we can be guided. So just because you can't see your next step doesn't mean that the next step isn't dope and isn't amazing, right? This is just calling for you to trust, just for you to trust. The 3rd, where's your fear coming from? Is your fear real? Are you afraid? Are you afraid to move forward because it's going to be a loud noise? Are you afraid to move forward because you're going to physically fall? That is not the case. I want you to understand that those fears are not real. Yes, you're feeling it, but they're not real. There's a story. So you need to recognize that you have this fear, what that fear is, and where is that story at, so you can change the story. Change the story. And you can do that, right? Oh, guys. I would say 4 is to understand that everything happens for a reason. And you might not ever know what that reason is, but trust and believe it played a part. But When I say like everything happens for a reason, it's when you hear that voice or that thought, however it is coming to you, to do something, and you don't have anything logical that backs it up, you run with that. You run with that. And when I say that, like, I wasn't gonna fold my clothes. Pack my clothes. I went to sleep. Something woke me up and said, get up and pack your clothes. There wasn't nothing logical to do that because I was tired and I had plenty of time. This was like 11 o'clock at night and we weren't leaving until 3. So there was nothing logical to say, but I just trusted it because I needed to be awake. I didn't know that. I needed to be awake. So just understand that everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason, and trust what it is that you're feeling and what it is that you're getting. You know? So in the beginning, when I said I was grateful for the experience, right? And before I told you guys the story, I'm grateful that I had that experience because there's so many things in there that I have learned and I want to sit with and really unpack and take it in. You know, I'm grateful to be alive. My mother said she's seen that smoke and stuff on my face. And when I finally got into the apartment, I didn't get into the shower right away because we were still getting everything situated. But my mom keeps baby wipes in the bathroom, and I took it and I was wiping my face and I took a picture of it just to have it and to send to a couple people that I told about it. But it's all the blackness that's on there, right? So then yesterday I sneezed and I blew my nose and naturally you look at it. I know this is gross, but it's because I was folding the tissue so I can blow my nose again. And I was like, what the fuck is that? So then I blow my nose again and I'm like, what is this shit? And in that moment I realized this is all the soot because it was black. I was blowing out black shit in my nose. And here it is now because that happened on Thursday, Friday. So 3 days later, I'm blowing my nose and I'm blowing out the soot. And then that's when it just hit me that I hadn't fully unpacked and processed what happened. So I'm grateful for that experience because I've learned a lot. And I also got some validations of stuff that I already knew. However, I got the experience again to really hone it in. And I get to sit here now and talk about it with you guys and share this experience and with the intent to help, with the intent for something to resonate with you, right? So that was my experience, I do feel like that experience was for the neighbor, just for a little bit that I know from my mom about her. I think it was a catalyst for her highest good, even though it doesn't feel like it, but it's to get her onto a particular path. And we were a part of that experience to make it be a little smoother, but still have that effect. So it's very interesting. Very, very interesting. So that's it, guys. I wanted to just, like I said, share that experience with you. I know a lot of you guys because a lot of my listeners do reach out to me and stuff. The energy is very heavy right now, and we're all trying to process everything that is happening. Like I said, I had a very eventful week with just certain things coming to the head, certain things with people in my life, and I don't want to say people showing their true colors, but just some things being presented that I had to say, hey, how am I resonating with this? How am I showing up in the world? And how is this relationship? And is this relationships come to an end now because it's no longer serving my highest good? All of that good stuff to then leave off with the fire. So it's been heavy for me as well. And if there's something that I just want you guys to make sure that you're owning your feelings, whatever your feelings are, they're yours. I will say this until I'm blue in the face. Don't let anybody be dismissive. They are your feelings. If you're angry, that's great. With anger comes change. With change comes growth. And that's what the hell we all came here to do, which is grow. If you are really struggling right now and you need that little bit of guidance, I am still taking appointments. I just changed my schedule to only Tuesdays and Saturdays so I can continue processing this big shift that's in my life. So I'm still here to help guide you, you guys. I just don't have a huge open availability, but you can always go to my website and see any of those times on there. If you need a little bit of guidance, I'm here. My website, and if you don't, it's www.healalign.flow, which is GLO, fullest.com. If we're not connected on Instagram, you can go to @MindsetSlayer. That's where I hang out and I have a bunch of, fun and speak my truth on there, and, hop on over there and see if anything resonates with you, and, let's connect and let's vibe from there. Other than that, that's all I got for you guys. And until next time, bye. Thanks for tuning in to #Certified. If anything resonated with you, I would love to continue the conversation. You can follow me on Instagram @ItIsTisha. And if you want to be a part of the #Certified tribe, you can join my Facebook group by going to the search tab and putting in #Certified. My website is conversationswithtisha.com. As always, have a great one on purpose. Love you.